I'm aggressively trading out all my good cards into like beat up revised dual lands, wheels, just like these $50-$100 cards, whatever. That's all I want to play.
It's the best. It is the natural evolution, right? So like if you don't have the bankroll to play Annie 40K,
correct,
then what you should be playing is Alpha through Alliance's Annie.
Yeah, it's so good because there's like nobody's playing power, nobody's playing stuff that like you're gonna get hurt over. But like, it'd be fun to have a couple beers and lose a scrub land that you just like absolutely take a Sharpie and Sharpie the entire thing out except the card title. And then you're like, here's your scrub land.
Fuck you, here's your scrub land. But yeah, I mean, like it makes sense now. Like prices are coming back down no matter what the finance fucks want to say in the Discord.
Sure.
So like would I be upset losing a scrub land? Probably not. Like,
yeah.
Be like, yep, all right, fuck it, I'll buy another one later.
The thing too is like that format is self-regulating where right now it's about 6 people. And so if you lose something, you're losing something to like your friend. I mean, if some try hard grinder comes in and is playing some totally tuned card just trying to take my revised White Knights, like cool, have fun.
Good
nobody
for you, buddy.
Nobody
will play one game. Yeah. Like it like only works in the aggregate, right? Like it works in small groups of friends.
Yep.
Which is why I think Alpha 4 or like Annie 40K also works, is because that's only played amongst a group of people who all know each other fairly well.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
If I had those cards from back in the day, I would 100% play that. But I own 0 unlimited dual lands.
Yeah.
I don't own library. I don't own workshops or whatever. Get like my entire collection that is outside of CE cards like wouldn't even come close. And so
I was talking with Urbano about like making an American version where we just play, like we use the American reprints but keep the same monetary limit just converted to USD. So like same BNR, same money, but we just allow American reprints.
That's interesting.
Because like I mean, like what's the real big fucking difference? Like if I lose, I don't know. As long as like the deck value is there, right? Like it's just like the idea of playing unlimited cards to play unlimited cards. Like, so if we get rid of that one restriction, are more people inclined to play in the States?
Yeah, that's an interesting topic. I mean, you if you build it, people will come. I mean, that's the thing. Like Friday night at War of the Roses, and Chris was there. I was playing with Claudia, and we were just playing this Alpha through Alliances, and she built like this weird recursion deck. And we weren't really playing. We played for a weird Annie. I'll tell that story a little bit later.
Mm-hmm.
But 2 or 3 people came up to us and were like, "Hey, what are you playing? I recognize those cards. Like you played Yavimaya Ants and Berserk and stuff." And so we explained it, and they're like, "Oh, that's cool." And to me, that's a lot better way to grow a quote unquote format than making a Facebook page and having an artist print up play mats for you.
That's actually step 1. That's actually your step 0 is to print play mats. I agree. Like I think what people get hung up on, and I found not to be the issue, is people I think initially think that like you have to set a monetary limit, like either a lower or an upper.
Sure.
And I was like, with specifically when you talk Alpha through Alliances, I don't think that's necessary. Right. I think if you show people how it's played, and then let them do what they want to do, everybody comes to a natural middle ground. And like, I didn't think my deck was worth any more, any less than anybody else I played in the last league.
Yeah.
I think we're about even, and none of us colluded to make it about the same value.
Sure. So Chris, do you have any experience with Alliances cards? Like, do you ever play them?
Oh, I mean, so I remember when Ice Age was like the first big expansion that came out. So like I started playing in junior high, and Fallen Empires hadn't come out yet. But you could still buy Pacts of the Dark, and you couldn't buy Legends anymore. Those were all gone. Yeah. So Ice Age was like the big set that first came out. We were like so stoked. And I remember first we all first looked at Force of Will and we're like, this card fucking sucks. Like, why would anyone play a 5 mana counterspell? Why don't you just play counterspell? like at least Arcane Denial draws you a card next turn, you know.
Hell yeah.
So I remember we were all very bad. My one buddy had like a Deadly Insect deck. It was like
Nice.
it was green, white, and red, and he had like removal and Deadly Insect, and I just could not beat that guy. So there was like some really cool stuff. I remember seeing Kildoran Outpost for the first time and thinking this is the best land that's ever been printed ever. We were not all on like tons of strip mines back then. I think we played by type 1 rules. So I think we only had like one strip mine at the time. And I remember seeing Outpost and just thinking, oh, all you have to do is sack a land and you get to just make dudes. Like, this is insane. So, you know, I have like a lot of nostalgia for those cards, but you know, you don't like in Legacy and in Vintage, you don't really get to play that many other than like Force of Will. You know what I mean? Like,
sure.
Like Gorilla Shaman doesn't really get played. Gorilla Shaman probably sees more play in Pauper than any other format, honestly. But
it's like Glacial Chasm maybe is another Ice Age card.
Yeah,
like in like one of those decks, it's like a combo deck, but you use it to just not die and then kill people.
Yeah, Glacial. Yeah, exactly. Like in Vintage, there's like a combo deck with Fast Bond where you just like get Chasm out, and then you waste your own lands, and then you make infinite mana, and then you have Bazaar Baghdad to like go through your whole deck. You basically draw 2, discard 2. You go through your whole deck. Eventually, you Buried Ruin something back, and then you just basically overwhelm your opponent. Yeah, but like that's like a tier 4 deck. I mean, yeah. So being Eric's like, I'm in. But like being able to play with a lot of those alliance cards like is probably and you know, Homelands sucks. So but I'll bet like Autumn Willow could probably be pretty decent as like a finisher. I mean, it's like probably the closest thing to Morphling that like that format has. So I'm interested. I'm definitely interested. But I'm like, I consider myself like, I'm always looking at decks like, okay, how could this deck be better? Like I'm, you know, and I feel like what would end up happening is I would end up in a situation where I don't want to be in a situation where I'm like, my deck is like too spiky and then like other people aren't having fun. So like, that's like my own personal thing that I would have to like, how do you police that? How do you get to a point where like everybody, like Eric said, if some grinder comes in, not that I would be that person because I don't really want to win shitty White Knights with a dick drawn on it, but like, but like I do want to make a deck that's interesting and works. Like the biggest thing for me, and I'll get to this when we talk about like the tournaments, is like I hate having a deck that loses to itself. And so I'm always thinking like, all right, well, how do I make this deck like the most interesting and the best thing I can be? And I think that it would take a while for me to find a level of like good, but not too good. And I think that would be like, I would want to make sure that I had that shit down before I rolled up to like an match with somebody, because I don't want somebody to not have fun. And I also don't want to be like, well, I played bad cards and lost. Like, you got to find that happy medium. And I think that that's kind of like a tricky thing to do in some of these more like casual formats. You know what I mean?
Yes, I want to back up. This is the best Homelands card. You can't see it.
Oh yeah, you're the Relentless.
Yeah. Hell yeah!
I played that a lot when I was a kid.
That's from that's the I don't know. Go ahead, Kim. Sorry.
Yeah, I was just gonna say one of the things that we have made a change is that you're in any anti format, you're kind of priced in to play Contract from Below. And so originally Jordan and Joe and I were talking about just down here in Portland about eradicating Contract to be colorless or to add like some other stuff. And we were doing that, and then the thought crossed our mind that if we ever want to introduce anybody outside the three of us to play this quote unquote rule set, it's going to be hard to explain, and it's easier just to make the format a little more accommodating to that and saying like, look, if every color is going to have to splash black for Contract, how do we make it the easiest to just make decks able to splash black or prey on that, right? And so we talked about allowing the enemy Painlands in, and I think that's where we've kind of settled. And so that gives, you can play any color, and you can play a couple of City of Brass, a couple of those enemy dual lands or Painlands or the Ice Age. Yeah. And that way you can have 6-7 black sources, you can cast contract, because really that's what people want to do is like, I want to draw 7 cards ante up and see if I can win. And then Eric wants to black vise you and fork your own contract. And so you either play contract or you prey on it, which is amazing, because that's the whole thing. Like, I don't want to be I'm not playing Annie to take dual lands. I'm playing Annie because I like the thrill of flipping the card over and saying like, oh, it might be a 4th edition basic. Might be a Wheel of Fortune, but it's probably not.
Yeah, that's why I like playing with bird restricted.
Yep.
Because it makes that's like the natural evolution is actually just to get I for historical sake, like leave bird in, but like restricting bird makes it so you're not just playing like bird games, right?
Well, that's what any 40K is,
that's
right?
lame, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, for the most part. Now, I was talking with some people not on the podcast about the wins and losses in Annie 40K from the recent European tournament, and there was more than just some birds exchanged.
Well, that's great.
So,
that's great to hear. Yeah.
And they came to the same conclusion, which was if you reduce the amount of birds, there's more skin in the game.
Yeah. And that's why these guys are playing that format, right? It's a little bit of a degenerate format. I mean,
you're drawing on the cards that you win that are probably worth like hundreds of dollars. So like that's already pretty degenerate, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It depends on how you build your deck. Like I will probably get into that format, not this year. Thanks. I got a new chimney. But there's different ways to do it. Like you can put in like 1 or 2 money cards and then blank the rest of your deck, right? And rely on your birds, or you can spread the wealth. And I think that it's not an even split. I think most people put in 1 or 2 money cards and then try and blank the rest.
Yeah. I mean, but the whole thing is like, why fundamentally, why does that format exist and why are people playing it? It's because they're chasing that.
Yeah.
That feeling like, that you start losing and you have a contract in your hand. And I'm like, I don't know what that is. That could be a volcanic island, or it could be a nothing, but they want that. And the Alpha through alliances stuff, it simulates that on a much lower scale. Like you're never gonna have feel bads with your buddies playing it, and that's kind of what I'm in. But I love it. I built 5 decks, and I'm like happy to hand them out now, because there's nothing in there that you're gonna lose and feel bad about. If there is something like that, don't put it in your deck.
Well, that's why I like Ice Age, because Ice Age was basically an alpha replacement, right? Like it was fixed alpha. Yep. So like that's why I like Alpha through alliances the most, because it opens up, like if you just play like regular old school, like no limit, like so no money associated, like guys just play budget decks, which is fine. Like it's an interesting format to play, but it's solved. Like you just play mono red ATOG and fucking smash into each other. The allowing for Alpha through alliances opens up a bunch of different strategies that you wouldn't normally see, and because it's best of one, no sideboards, like
love it.
You gotta like tune. You gotta tune how much hate you want to put in your main deck. Like, it's a much more interesting game to play.
You don't want dead cards.
Yeah, you don't want dead card. Well, like, so like whenever I think like how would I play if you don't make the Odyssey enemy pain lands like Caves of Kolos and all that bullshit legal. What I think what I would do is I would play Felwar Stone. And then like City of Brass, and just rely on the idea that my opponent is probably going to have a black source that I can ping off of, or like you said, fork, or just prey on them, right? Like,
So that's the thing about Necro is like, if people want to play Necro, it's what a $25-$30 card, and so that's going to be a little self-limiting, but also like that card has some weaknesses, and if you want to play Howling Minds and Black Vises and just black lives the shit out of them, like hell yeah, get some, right? And have fun.
All right, I feel like we talked a lot about Annie, which is very nice, but I know we wanted to talk about Cam Jam.
Sure.
And
I got my notes.
War of the Roses. Cam, okay, everybody listening who's not watching, Cam made notes, which is more than I've ever done for a podcast. Period.
I have notes as well in a Google Doc.
Holy fuck. Yeah. Okay. I'm glad you guys take this more seriously than me. Today I let Dave have access to the website so he could post something. I was like, here you go, buddy. And he immediately starts making fun of like how jury rigged my website is. He's like, are you shitting me? I was like, no.
Yeah. So he got into the back end stuff, is what you're saying?
Yeah, so it's just a regular WordPress site, and so I gave him editor rights, and he's like, your website is labeled links to other old school websites. I was like, I don't know how to change it. It's just that's the name, and so I actually did fix that today. But
that's amazing.
So now for people who maybe want to publish their tournament reports, I can give you guys permissions now, and you can just do it yourselves.
Okay,
so, pretty nice.
Because Chris, and I'll let Chris cover that, but he wrote a really nice one from War of the Roses. So, but yeah, we can do that. We'll talk for Cam Jam about 20 minutes, and then we'll switch over to War of the Roses. Cool. All right. So Cam Jam, first of all, I'm Cam. I run.
I actually made this mistake on last episode. Last episode, Simon Christie was my guest, and we just started talking, and I didn't even fucking put an intro in. Anyhow, continue.
I'm like, if somebody's listening to this and doesn't know who I am, I mean,
it's over.
It feels like the Venn diagram of those two things are
very
the same. The circle. Yeah. Okay, so it's called. I run a tournament every year in February, March, called Cam Jam. It's not after my name. It's like Camera Jam, and that came from Shaman Ben back several years ago, and then he kind of jokingly called it that, and it just stuck. So yeah, like we started this in 2021 in response to COVID and the increase in webcam play, but what I wanted to do is I wanted to have a tournament, quote unquote tournament, where we could test things and have some feedback and get some real-time results. It's extremely casual, and I've sort of limited I shouldn't say it's like private, because anybody that messages me and is like, I want to play in Cam Jam, I normally let them in unless there's somebody that I've either had a bad experience with, or maybe has had bad experiences in the past. But it's a way to test new rules. And so we run it single elimination like March Madness. And then we have an underground bracket. So if you lose in the first round, you enter this sub tournament where there are no rules. You can switch your deck, you play whatever.
It was very confusing the first time. The first time I played Cam Jam, and I lost like round 1 as per normal. Yeah. And then they're like, hey, you're under. I'm like, how many more games do I have to play? And they're like, until you lose again. And I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna lose so hard in this second round. Like, and then they were like, oh, there's another underground. I was like, I'm not even considering this as an idea.
And I mean, this tournament is so casual. Like, I let people call out their first round opponents if they want, because I keep everything in paper. That's just a thing for me.
It's a March Madness bracket.
Names. The starting point, I set a date, but half the time people are playing their first round matches a week early. Like Jamie Estep from the Hacks a couple of years ago got knocked out of the entire tournament 10
before
days
it even
started. Yeah, and then I let him back in a second spot because we had another spot to fill, and he got knocked out again. And so every time I see him, I rag on him mercilessly. But
he redeemed himself this year. He made it this year.
He did a good job. And so, it's all community driven. Lots of people donate prizes and stuff. I use it to kind of thin my collection out a little bit, but guys like Quail, Nick, DTC, Dave Craig, Eben Hand, Duncan, all those guys chip in stuff. And then Alan, from the Mox Ham guys, the QFF guys, they donate a ton of stuff, and we get it all sent back out. But so the rules thing is very interesting. We've done things like allowed 2 Wheel of Fortune. We've unrestricted channel. We let orcs be considered to be goblins for the sake of all the rules that are there. Orcs and org, just stuff like that. Stuff that's a little nutty. We've run alpha through alliances for some of these tournaments just to see what happens, right? And then that way, at least we can speak from a place of knowledge to say, hey, look, we ran 60 matches with unrestricted channel, and it's no big deal.
It really isn't. It's really not that good.
Like, that's one of the I tried. 2 times wheel, can't do that. That was a mistake.
That's bad. Hey, who would have thought?
And the orcs thing was pretty sweet, except for there's some rule with orcish captain that made it where you could basically like mow down your opponents, and so that would have to be errated. But I really like that one because goblins is
currently googling orcish captain.
I think that was Mano's deck, right? Where he made a goblin deck and just fucking wreck people.
Him and I think it was Lemke. They went 1-2 in the tournament. So this year, the whole thing started when I talked with DFB a couple years ago, and he's been working on this green monster forever, but he's like, you know what this deck really needs? This deck needs Naturalize. And so I said to myself, and I talked with Mana a little bit, a couple other people, Casey, my buddy, and just said, hey, if you could add one card to the old school pool in each color that could help shore up weaknesses, right? I didn't want to necessarily create new archetypes, but they could help shore up weaknesses. And so what we came up this year is we allowed Naturalize for green, blue got Arcane Denial, red got Goblin Pile Driver, white got Silver Knight, which was busted.
Yep.
And then black got Necro and Demonic Consultation at one time each, because I just didn't want to run a Necro tournament. Might as well just run Alpha through Alliances then. And then I threw in Lotus Petal just to see, just kind of as an afterthought, just to see what would happen with that, and allow that as a 4 of. And I got a lot of people that were saying, well, Underworld Dreams is broken. Underworld Dreams is going to be the best deck. It's going to win the tournament. It's going to go undefeated. And it did not. Yeah. And then the afterthought, somebody jokingly said, hey, we should allow walls to attack.
Which is my favorite one, just to be clear. That was my favorite.
Yes. Far be it from me to be a heavy-handed tourney organizer. So I was like, that sounds really cool, right? Because there's lots of cool walls. I didn't think too much about it. Like, okay, cool. Walls can attack. And then we set the tournament in motion and said, let's do it. And so I played Tax Edge aggro deck with Silver Knights and Lotus Petal, and it was pretty sick. I won a couple rounds. But I want to hear Chris's kind of opinion from as a player, and then he made it to the final 2, and so it's going to turn it over to him and let him talk a little bit about it.
Yeah, so when I first saw the rules, my immediate thought was, oh, if Necro is legal, even at restricted, that is going to go into a Dark Ritual deck. What's the best Dark Ritual deck? Oh, Underworld Dreams. Oh, shit, Lotus Petal's unrestricted. Okay, so it's just going to be a Dreams format. And then I thought, that actually feels like the most obvious thing that most people are going to do. I was wrong. And I think most people actually went with walls.
Yeah. Fuck yeah. People were excited about walls.
Yeah.
I was fucking pumped.
So what's funny about that is I played against only one person. No, just kidding. Duncan was on Dreams as well. So I played against Quinn and Duncan round 2 and round 4. Both of them were on Dreams. I honestly, I ended up, well, I'll get to that, I guess, when I go through my matches, but walls ended up being the more relevant thing. I feel like a lot of people were Dreams was the obvious thing, and it was almost like the meta was really split between people doing wall stuff and people doing Dream stuff. And then there was a couple of people that were I don't really want to do Adam. I played against Adam. Adam was on Blue White Knights with Sleight of Mind.
Yeah, I played against him.
Yeah, they weren't on. They weren't on. I don't think they played any walls.
No, he was just on Knights.
Well, he's a control player, and Adam. One I also offered him a Tundra if he could win with the Slate Knight. So
yeah, that's what we called it. That's what they called it. That's what. Yeah, I think they prefer they. Yeah, but so I'll go through my. I have a note, so I'll go through. I wrote up I had to go back and go through the Discord history to remember some of these. So I ended up playing a 4-color Millstone deck. So I played Esper Mill, blue white, black Mill in the Summer Blast last year at Mox Boarding House, and the deck I went 3-1. I think I got 3rd place or 4th place. I can't remember what I got. I think it was 3rd or something like that. The deck felt good. There were some mana base issues where I was stuck on certain colors. I am so spoiled in this, in Vintage and Legacy with fetch lands that I feel my biggest issue in any old school format is just getting the mana to function properly because I'm so spoiled. So I was this time I'm going to add more City of Brass to this deck so I don't have any mana issues. And I'm like, well, now that I'm doing this, I might as well just throw in green for regrowth and Sylvan Library. So the greed overwhelmed me again. So I ended up playing this 4-color non-red mill deck with Field of Dreams. So in Summer Blast, I was on Transmute Artifacts because it's like my favorite card in Old School, and I didn't have any Field of Dreams. But I acquired some Field of Dreams. Like I traded something for like Rich Shea for one. I found like another good deal on eBay for one, and I proxied the third one. I probably should have played 4 for this event because it ended up being really good. But that was basically the deck that I played. No creatures in the main at all. Sideboard package of Sarah Angel. And so I was like, all right, well, I want to play with some of these new cards. So I put Arcane Denial in the sideboard. I was like, I don't know what I would bring this in against because this card is so bad. But blue doesn't need any more help. So I'm kind of glad Cam made like the blue edition not a very good card. And it kind of like works with the mill plan, right? Because it's like, fine, draw 2 cards. That's like 1 millstone activation that I don't have to activate, you know? So that's what I did. So I'll go down the list of my matches. So round 1, I played Ebonhead Dave. Dave was on like White Weenie with Wall of Swords and other walls, I think. Oh, and Wall Caltrops too. That's so this match, this really just came down to me killing his creatures and outdrawing him, which is I kind of feel like how that match is supposed to go. I figured most people would be playing combo with Dreams, or they would be playing like wall creature decks. So this was kind of like my meta game choice for that. So one game I had the lock on him where he was stuck on mana, and every time I saw a land on top, I milled it away with Millstone. And eventually I got to a point where I saw planes on top, I milled him. There's another planes on top, I milled him. I untapped, I did it again, and I'm like, all right, well, you just like happen to have all these lands on top and I can't let you cast cards. So I'm just going to mind twist your entire hand away and let you just draw this land. So then I switched gears to letting him draw nothing but lands, and I started milling all his threats away. So that was actually kind of cool that I was able to pivot. I'm sure that was miserable for him, but that was kind of like that was what I signed up for. I did lose game 2 to a wall of Caltrops attacking me to death. And I was like, shit, this is actually pretty good. Like, it's like the white Argothian Pixies. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I can't, like, I couldn't beat this card. Like, I wrathed one away, and then he just, like, he played it well. I mean, he didn't overextend. He was just like, all right, I got 1 threat. I'm just going to, like, steadily attack you. I wrathed it away, which just felt like the shittiest wrath ever. And then he's just like, all right, well, Caltrops again, and I just died to that. But I ended up winning this one 2-1.
Yeah, and just for people scoring at home, Dave won the Mirror Dave match in the Underground finals. He beat DFB for the Underground. So
same deck, right?
Yeah, same deck.
Yeah. Very, very cool. Congrats to Dave on that. Yeah, and you know, Dave was just like a total gentleman. I mean, everyone that I played with was just like, we just got to, you know, talk shop afterwards, and that's like one of the things I love about Old School that you sometimes don't get in you know, newer competitive formats where, you know, people just get salty and they leave, you know, but everybody is here to have a good time. So I played against Quinn round 2. And Quinn, I kind of had a bit of like a revenge goal for Quinn. I met Quinn in the top 4 of the pre-modern event at Puget Sound Battleground 3, the one that happened in 2021. And you know, Quinn's a good player. Quinn usually does really well at these events. So I was like, all right, this might be where I die. Game 1 was pretty interactive. We went back and forth. Quinn was on Dreams combo, by the way. So Quinn was on Underworld Dreams, and he also had Lotus Petal in there to get the Dreams out sooner, but he also was using Lotus Petal to turn on land tax, which I thought was super sweet. So game 1, pretty interactive. We were kind of going back and forth. Mostly it was just me trying to just not get killed out of nowhere. And then eventually I got the Field of Dreams Millstone lock on him. And once that happened, it was pretty much lights out. This game went on for a long time before he packed it in. Game 2, he had this insane start. And I was talking to Adam about this. His turn 1 start was Mox, Lotus, Time Twister, Mox, Time Walk, Untap, Blood Moon. So that was what he did before I even had a turn.
It's better to be lucky than good.
Yeah. It was like, all right, well, that's bad. I probably drew like a Mox Sapphire. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna like, I guess I'm gonna hold this because he had Mox Pearl out, and I didn't want it to get disenchanted. So I played a land. I think I played like an Underground Sea, which was just a mountain, and I passed. And then he goes land tax, and I was like, okay, no lands. So he's still just on the 3 Moxes. He's on the all the off color ones. So he's on Pearl, Ruby, and Emerald. So he doesn't have black and blue, which are like very important for his deck. I'm like, all right. So I played I think it was Mox Pearl actually that I drew. It was Mox Pearl because I played Balance and I got rid of my own lands to turn off his land tax because I didn't want him drawing cards. I basically was trying to like basically deny him colors. And we just went draw go until he was about to discard, and then he started playing lands. So that land tax like basically never got activated the entire game, and we slowly started playing lands out. And eventually I found basics, played Field of Dreams, played Millstone, kept him off all of his threats. And Field of Dreams is a hell of a drug because you just get to know everything that they draw. So like I just had a little notepad. I'm like, because I have to keep track, right? And that was basically how Lantern Control worked in Modern, right? That was like a prison deck in Modern where you would like look at their hand and see what they have, you write it down, and then you have like Lantern of Insight, and you get to keep track of everything that they draw, and you have to write like a lot of notes. So that was basically what I was doing, but I had notepad open in true 90s fashion. So I ended up winning that game, and which is crazy. And I think the big crux of that game came down to him regrowthing. He regrowth something. I think he regrowth like a Demonic Tutor to get something to stop me from milling him, and he did not go for Time Twister. And I think if he had gone for Time Twister, that match would have gone a lot longer and it would have been a better plan. But once Time Twister and Regrowth were both gone, I felt like I was pretty much in the clear, and I just milled him out. So at this point, I'm 2-0. I beat Quinn 2-0. At this point, Walls are actually like have a better record than Underworld Dreams and Lotus Petal, which I thought was just like hilarious. And I loved that. Like I loved that like a wall of Caltrops killed me, and I was able to 2-0 the Dreams combo deck.
I mean that is like saying to that the meta, quote unquote, for Cam Jam is pretty casual. It skews casual, and it skews towards people wanting to use the new cards. So it's absolutely like your deck and Adam's deck were probably the closest things to quote unquote the deck. Because there's just a lot of and but even with that, like you're not playing the deck because you want to win. You're playing something that's interesting and fun for you, and like you almost won the whole thing with Millstone.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I did end up playing Adam round 3, and I was hyped for this because Adam had been talking so much shit in Discord. Basically he's like, oh, I'm more afraid of walls, like like you're going down, I'm the chosen one, I'm gonna win this whole thing. And I met Adam through Twitch. So Adam would stream Vintage and Legacy, and I just started chatting with Adam in Twitch chat, and then we became friends. And then I found out that Adam knew Cam, and then we became even better friends, right?
Yeah.
So Adam's just talking all this shit, and I'm like, I'm gonna end your entire career. So
yeah, he's a long time Cam Jam person. Huge fan of Adam. I've known them for a long time, and yeah. But you're right. Adam is always talking smack,
shit. Yeah,
he's the heel of this tournament, right? Like, that's a wrestling term, but like he's like the dude. Like he's like, I'm gonna like you just want to fucking win against him. Everybody else, whatever. But
so Adam was on Slight Nights. Game 1 felt very similar to my match with Dave. We basically got to a point where Adam was out of cards, and I got the lock on him, and I basically just milled every threat that I saw on the top of the deck. So It did not feel close. Now, Adam, the only cards in Adam's deck that I cared about were Power Sync and Disenchant. Those are literally, because he had posted some. We had talked. Adam knew my deck list beforehand. I didn't care like that they knew. Adam had posted their deck list in the deck picks, just like, hey, this is what I've got. So we already knew each other's decks. And when I looked over it, I was like, the only cards I care about are Power Sync and Disenchant. Everything else I can deal with. And I had Counterspell, so I could deal with those too. But I was like, there could be like a moment where I could get got, and that happened in game 2. They sleight of minded a White Knight to white in response to a Swords to Plowshares.
Yes.
So I got blown out by that, and
I love it.
Now I had let 2 Crusades resolve on an empty board. I was like, I don't give a shit about Crusade. Sure, play your shitty Crusade.
Yeah.
So they waited until they had blew up, and they're like, White Knight. I'm like, sure. End step, Swords to Plowshares, and they're like, Sleight of Mind, and I'm like, fuck. I'm gonna die to this 4/4 Knight. So they hit in for like 12 damage. It might have been 16. I can't remember. I think I had dealt some damage to myself. And so I have Field of Dreams and Millstone out. And I see the cards on the top of my deck don't do anything. So I start millstoning myself. And this is risky because like Field of Dreams only shows you the top card. So I'm like, well, my only outs are Wrath of God and Maze of Ith. That's it. If I don't, this is not like, I'm here for a long time, not a good time. Like I'm gonna die long before I mill him out. And I luckily milled myself at the very last turn where I needed it. I saw Maze of Ith on top, and I'm like, we've got a game. Played Maze of Ith. They couldn't find a strip mine. Eventually, I wrapped it away and I just milled them out, and I got them 2-0, and I mercilessly heckled them in chat.
As you should.
Yeah, because they were talking so much shit. They're like, I'm the chosen one. I'm like, looks like I'm the chosen one. So then I played Duncan on Black Green Dreams Prison. So Duncan's on the parfait package of Relic Barrier, Howling Mine, and Icy Manipulator, as well as Dark Ritual, Underworld Dreams. Sick deck. Probably like the sickest deck that I had seen at that point. And I'm a big parfait package player, so like I was like super stoked to see their deck list after the whole tournament was over. But this match was pretty wild because like if they get an Underworld Dreams out, like I'm a really slow to win control deck, so like that Dreams could just kill me, right?
Yeah, you need a Disenchant real bad.
Real bad. And so game 1 was actually pretty interactive. I mean, it really got down to us kind of like jockeying for position. There was a Dreams out. I was like, all right, I need to find a Disenchant for this. Eventually I got the lockdown. I think my first goal was just like prevent you from advancing your plan, and then I can just draw cards and just find the Disenchant later, which is exactly what happened. So game 1 went according to plan. Game 2, he had an insane start of turn 1 Gloom off of a Lotus. And, and I was like, white's a very important color in my deck. So I was like, all right, well, this is annoying, but I've got answers. So I go land Sol Ring. Duncan promptly untaps, crumbles the Sol Ring, and strip mines me. And I'm like, well, I guess I'm just going to go fuck myself now. And yeah, he put my mouth on the curb that game. This game was not even remotely close. Every time I tried to like wiggle my way back in, there was like another crumble or like a strip mine, and I just died to factory beats. Like, so I was like, okay, this is not probably a match where I can mess around with like the slowness of the Millstone plan. So I took that package out and I brought in Serra Angels. And I got to have a good Lotus start on game 3. I basically played City of Brass Lotus and just crossed my fingers. I had mana drain, so my thought is, okay, well, I have another City of Brass in hand and a Serra Angel in hand. If he goes for a big start of like Land Ritual Dreams, I can mana drain it, take a mana burn, untap, play Serra Angel, and I should be good. And the only thing I cared about was mana denial. I don't want to crumble on my Lotus. I don't want to strip mine on my land. That was all I cared about. And I breathed a sigh of relief when he just went like land Mox pass. And I'm like, all right, like City of Brass, Sarah Angel, go. And he's like, it's pretty good. And that Sarah Angel basically went the distance. At one point, he played an icy manipulator, and I had a counter spell. I basically just played it like Delver, and I just countered everything that I could that mattered after that, and just killed him in 4 turns. So that was close. I mean, we both had lucky Lotus starts that basically determined the entire game. But I had the lucky Lotus start on the 3rd game.
So now you're in the finals, right?
Yeah, and I waited. It was like, it was like the the meme with like Pablo Escobar from Narcos, just like sitting on the swing, looking off, in the distance I was just waiting around, and I'm just kind of like, all right, well, I guess I'm just gonna do some other stuff in the meantime. So I think it was like a good week or two before the East Side bracket caught up.
Yeah, I tend to take a pretty light hand on people's schedules. I understand that I'm busy. People are busy. As long as everyone is communicating with each other, it's not a problem. But you do get those matchups where you just rip through. Or DFB does this a lot, where he just wants to get it all done one night. So he'll just sit there and just rip through 4 or 5 people, line them all.
The one bracket was done in like one day. It was like, all right, and then we waited.
Yeah, I feel like the West Side bracket. I feel like we got that done in like maybe a week.
Yeah.
For this one. So now I'm playing against Alan on White Weenie with Wallace, and I didn't know exactly what Alan was on. I had seen somebody mention that Alan's Wallace swords were pimper than theirs, and I'm like, okay, it's just gonna be another White Weenie deck, right? So I just like remembered that. And I'm like, all right, cool, like I got this, like we're taking this down. No. So game 1, I mulled to 5 because my deck had horrible mana issues, and there was a timely strip mine that cut me off of double colors, so I couldn't counterspell anything. And Cam was actually watching, and you had mentioned that your kid was like, I think Chris is gonna win because you were talking about like control versus aggro, and I was like, well, I'm about to disappoint this child right now. I had to balance to stay alive. Which was brutal because it was like basically a mind twist and like a get in for my side. I had to because I was so far behind, but he just top decked more creatures and I flooded out. And I'm like, all right, no more messing around. We're going to have like a good hand. We're going to function. Game 2, I had my colors, but my major mistake this tournament was playing City of Brass. And I did talk to Jamie the Hacks, I think his name is.
Yeah.
We were talking about it after our there was a point where the conversation devolved into like disgusting like blood talk, and Cam just like left. I'm assuming that it was because Cam was disgusted and not because Cam was having internet issues. That's what I tell myself. And we talked afterwards, and Cam and Jamie was like, oh dude, don't play City of Brass, like you can't, it's too greedy, like you're gonna deal so much damage to yourself, just make it blue white. And that was true. Like that game 2 against Alan, I did so much damage to myself off of my cities. And at one point, and I'm seeing like Banala Shiro, Mesa Pegasus. I'm like, I'm about to lose to this like draft chaff. Like this is like so bad. He overextended one time. It was just like, fuck it. Here's just a bunch of Javelineers and I got to 5-for-1 him with a Wrath of God. And it just didn't even matter. At one point, I cleared the board. We were top decking. He's just like, Wall of Swords, and I'm like, all right, I'm at 3. I need to draw something. I drew a land and just like promptly died. So it was like, it was not even close. I just got crushed 2-0. I definitely feel like variance played like a really big role in that last game, but my mana based choice definitely came back to bite me. I should have just been blue white, or maybe I should have just stuck with Esper. Yeah. But Alan played well. We got to have some really good conversation afterwards.
And look, Alan is a known end boss. He is the QFF ringer, and he plays white. I've heard that he plays pink sometimes, but I've only ever seen him play that white aggro deck. And you're right, like in this quote unquote meta again, aggro creatures plus strip mine plus disenchant is like that's really good against your deck.
Yeah. One game he had like he opened up with lions, and I played like a land. I don't know, whatever. It didn't really matter. And he goes, he plays Mox Pearl, so he sandbagged it properly. Plays Mox Pearl, strip my land, disenchant my Mox.
Yeah.
I just like beat me down. Yeah, and I was just like, yep, that's a thing. And like that ended up happening to me in War of the Roses as well. Just like 4 strip, just like quick, like efficient creature, mana disruption, get fucked. And that was basically what happened. But it was a fun run though. Like I got to see some like really interesting. I think Duncan's deck was the coolest deck that I played against. So shout out to Duncan for that. And we got to have everyone I had actually good conversation with afterwards, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, we've worked really hard to curate the list here. I mean, there's definitely been people that have come in and played in Cam Jam and made it a terrible experience for other people. And they're just not invited.
Really?
They're just not invited back. And like it, I don't want to attack them personally, but this is a casual tournament for fun. Like if you're calling judge or arguing with people or you refuse to schedule, like that kind of stuff, we're all busy. This is supposed to be our hobby that we do for fun, right? And if you're not having fun, I'm a huge proponent of the casual side of this hobby. And this tournament is a casual tournament. It's not Spike Fest. It's not like LobsterCon or one of the derbies. Like this is where you take it easy, have a beer, and make some new friends or get to catch up with old friends, right?
What I learned is that walls should just be eroded to allow to attack.
Absolutely.
Broken.
Not at all.
Most broken for the entire. I 2-0'd the Dreams combo and I 2-1 the Dreams Prison the deck, and I lost to Wall of Swords in the finals. I mean, Wall's attack. It was really Wall of Swords and Wall of Caltrops were like the shining stars. Like, yeah, I was like,
Wall of Swords is first off a 3-drop. It's a 3-drop, right?
It's a 4-drop.
Sorry. I was thinking Wall of Light. Wall of Swords.
Yeah.
Wall of Swords is just all you're doing is playing against Dib. It's just white Dib.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
But it blocks their Angel.
Yeah.
So
good.
So
it doesn't do that much to you.
It's really funny though. Like I looked at this stuff and I was 100% convinced that Goblin Piledriver was going to be the mistake.
The mistake,
right?
Yeah.
And nobody, like, I think 1 or 2 people played Goblins, and it just was not a factor at all. Silver Knight, I heard, was awesome because there are a lot of bolts flying around.
Yeah.
And it just like
Silver Knight was like a solid fair choice.
It's such like that was perfect. Naturalize was perfect. I think Arcane Denial I saw it in Rug. And Rug loved it. Casey and Josh both played Rug, and they're like, "Dude, this card rocks here."
Yeah.
And so that was a hit. The 2 black cards they didn't matter. One of the card that I should have put in that spot, and I talked myself out of it because I hate it so much, is Duress.
Oh, that was my suggestion. Yeah, after we were talking about it.
Yeah.
See, I think Cabal Therapy would have been okay, but I think Duress was too much.
Yeah, that's good. That's good feedback. I mean, I just couldn't. I hate playing against discard because I usually don't play cards with a lot of decks with a lot of card advantage. So when the first time you get hammed or the first time you get Cabal Therapied in the blind, and then they flash it back and take your 2 best cards, and I'm like, dude, I concede. I was nervous about that, but now watching this and talking with everybody else, I think that would have been okay.
Well, Duress is interesting because it's still just a 1-for-1, and they're actually down on mana, right? So like they're down on mana. It's a 1-for-1, which is pretty fair. Cabal Therapy, I mean, you can get like those broken starts where you just like,
in a known meta, yes. But when you're playing Cam Jam, dude, what the fuck are you gonna name? Round 1, game 1, Cabal Therapy. What are you naming?
Carnivorous plant. Yeah, I don't know.
that's I think in this specific tournament, it's like if you were just like Cabal Therapies in old school, no, that would not be great because like it would be pretty easy. But
yeah.
Okay. Well. So that was Cam Jam. It was really fun. The other thing I want to say is I want to say a huge thank you to Kingslayer. Kingslayer made those stickers that have
they were sick. Yeah.
Predator on it, and it said if you want to make the underground, you got to go through me and my crew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There it is. There it is. Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They're big fans of anything Arnold Schwarzenegger related over in South Carolina. So huge thanks, Eric. I really, really appreciate that. And it was really great playing you and your brother. Your brother tore me up with goblins. So without a pile driver. So okay. So that was Cam Jam. Do you want to talk a little bit about War of the Roses? Yeah.
Yeah. Fuck
Okay.
it.
Yeah.
Nobody's just fucking just 2 hours. Dude, I don't give a fuck. Like 2-hour episode, I don't give a shit.
We're just
Let's do it.
Okay, so cool. So we just had in Portland last weekend. We had our first real in-person event since COVID, and really we've had a few in-store stuff at LGS's or something, but this is the first one that Aaron and I worked together and we put on. And so we planned this several months ago. We did War of the Roses because Portland is the city of roses. And I just had this idea for kind of this cross roses and have a banner go across. And we have a very unique relationship with Jesper and Julie. Yeah, Eric's showing the print.
Sorry,
right
I'm
now.
really bad at this part. Okay, there we go.
No, that's okay. We have a very unique and great relationship with Jesper and Spoops, Mirfor, and they've done designs for us. They designed our logo. They've done events for Border Brawl and stuff. But we reached out to them early and said, "Hey, I have this idea," and I literally gave Spoops a back of the back of the napkin with the sketch on it. That's what this was. I sent her pictures and I said, "Hey, what do you think about this?" She said, "No factor. Like we could do that. Absolutely." And so they hammered out this design and they worked on it together, which I thought was really cool. I know Jesper is the original art director for Magic and he's
Yep.
incredible, but I like artists of all walks of life. And I think it's really cool that the two of them work together on it. And so they designed this poster for us and this logo and everything, and it would just they really took our dream and made it a reality is what I told them, and they were great about that, and people were good all day, and I can't say enough for thank you to them for coming down and for the community of people that were so supportive of them, and bought stuff from them, got altars, got Siggies, and did that. But yeah, so we held it at McMiniman's Kennedy School in Portland. I will just say I underestimated how hard it was to find a venue for an event. And I kind of took the way out, the easy way out on this because it's a known place. It was a really cool venue in terms of look and everything. It was really expensive, of which we're trying to raise money for charity, and that it is what it is. But it worked out, right? At the end of the day, it worked out. It was pretty packed in there, but we were trying really hard not to tell anybody no. Because
I didn't feel it was packed in there. Dude, the one that we did, Battle of the Alamo, I thought we were tight in there. I did not personally feel that we were tight.
And you're a big dude,
in my opinion,
super tall, yeah. And so that's good feedback. It's all I know is if we run this back, I'm going to work a little bit harder to make sure we have the right amount of space and we can find something that fits. But people, the TOs that I've talked to before, they're like finding the venue is the hardest part. That's 99% of it. And really, like, that is, I cannot say how true that is. But they were good to us. And one of the things we did was we ran 5 rounds and took a pizza break in the middle, as opposed to like either a fancy meal or just like trying to run through the whole thing. I couldn't, I'm not going to go 5 rounds over 6 hours without anything to eat. But I don't want to stop for an hour and a half and have everybody leave, try to order food at 100 different places, and then try and make their way back on time. Cause we were tight on time for the room.
Right.
And so this is the solution we came up with. And like Eric said, I think it worked pretty well. Like, they brought pizzas in, everybody grabbed a plate. We wolfed down 10 pizzas between the 35 of us.
Yes. In like 25 minutes.
Yeah.
Like it was fucking moving.
And we were right back on. I was the clock person all day, and people were making their rounds except for the very end, which I'll talk about in a second. But dude, things are going good all day. And so a couple special things we did. Our friend Slum from the Guild House made me this beautiful, beautiful hand done rose stamp. And so what we did is we stamped 20 mountains and 20 plains. And as people came in, we're like, you're either, if you get a mountain, you're on team Shivan. And if you get a plains, you're on team Sarah. And then we had a list of bounties, and the bounties were like, yeah, exactly. It was like counter a counter spell, or double berserk, or lightning bolt a creature with 1 toughness, or
I have the list right here. I didn't use mine because I was not in the right mindset to, but but there's like some decent stuff on here. My favorite one was do 5 damage with Psychic Purge, which I didn't see anybody do, but that was my go-to.
So the whole point is we split the whole room randomly into 2 houses, right? And then you as you did these bounties, you checked it off on your checklist, and then at the end of the day, people turned in the checklist to us. We figured out which house won, and that's how we did our prizes at the end, our prize table. And so we were trying to incentivize people to do the bounties, and about 3/4 of the room did it. Yeah. In retrospect, it might have been just a little too much, because trying to run the tournament, run the charity part, do all that, it might have just been a little much. And towards the end, people were tired, and so it kind of just turned into a free for all at the prize table.
the prize,
dude, okay. I actually thought it was good idea personally. I would definitely be stoked to do it again.
Okay, so I really like the bounty idea.
The bounty idea was great.
Yeah, you got to do like how CFB this is like a long time ago, but like CFB used to run like bounty tournaments where like you would pick dudes out and be like, okay, you're a secret like you're a bounty, you're a bounty, you're a bounty, and you had to do like something specific against those guys, and that would like quantify the bounty, right? It reduces the back end work that you guys need to do. So it'd be like cast fucking whatever against fucking Cam. Like cast the Swords of Plowshare against Cam. Pretty easy money. But the
good way to get your Swords of Plowshare ripped in half.
Yeah, 100%, absolutely. My favorite, I don't know where I put it, but like my favorite thing was that you had and we hadn't done this in a long time, but you had a bunch of cards out for everybody to sign.
Yeah.
And so like that dude, I miss that so much, because it's so much easier for me to do that than it is for me to walk around the room and be like, "We sign this card. We sign this card."
Yep.
I really appreciate that.
And that's something I blatantly stole from Jaco and Bob at Players Ball 2018. And I know a lot of people do it now, but like if you make it easy for people to do those cards, one thing I've seen people move towards is you bring your own card that you want stamped, and then get your own signatures, and that's cool and everything. But like on a bigger tournament like this, I made them just a bunch of revised playables, and
that's all it's got to be.
I do try and make it something that's fringe playable, right? Because if you're doing life laces and sea serpents and stuff like that, it's cool that it'll go in a binder, but nobody will ever play it.
That's why if you do basics or like just like 4th edition playables,
disenchants, bolts, Atogs, Argothian pixies, that kind of stuff, absolutely. And so we did that, and then we also had a little sub game where everybody got a Star Wars Pog at the beginning, and if you won your match, you got the losers Pogs if they had any. And so at the end of the day, whoever had the most Pogs was whoever just kind of got lucky of which direction the Pogs took through the room. And that was Vegso. So Vegso got, I think he got the Quail altered Sarah Angel, which was awesome.
That's the second tournament he's done well in. He did well in his own tournament, which I'll never let him forget.
Yeah. So the money that we charged everybody to come in basically covered the room and the prints and stuff. And so we had these really nice prints made. That was Aaron's idea. Instead of play mats, he's like, let's give everybody a print, because everybody has 1,000 play mats. Now we have beautiful prints that you could frame, put on your wall. You could throw it in a drawer, but it's just something a little different. And I thought that was a good idea. We got great feedback from that. People love those things.
The print is rad. The print is rad. I'm definitely gonna get it framed.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to get mine framed, but I like the print. I still might buy a playmat. I'm not sure about that. I agree that there are like, I have too many fucking playmats, but I also kind of like that playmat. Yeah. I like event playmats, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, they're cool. And then I ended up buying the original art.
Should have put it up for auction.
You know what? I thought about it, but it was really expensive.
I know.
How much was it? How much was the original print? Original
art. You can give a baseball field. You can give
It was
2 zeros or 3 zeros? 3 zeros?
No, it was not quite 3 zeros, but
okay.
but it it was definitely CE Mox / unlimited dual land territory.
Got it.
But yeah, and that was something that they were going to do for free for us, and I mean, it's just they're amazing, right? Yes, Spoops are just straight up amazing. They're great people, and they had a great they gave us great feedback. They said they had a good time. They drove down for the day, and I think that it does make a difference when you walk up to Jesper and Spoops and you're like, look, your art had a huge effect on my life. You know, will you sign some cards? Will you take a picture with me? Will you do some altars and stuff? I think there was a lot of positive feedback from both of them on that. And so I just like, it gave me a warm and fuzzy because we were sitting there all day right next to them. And we could see that where people would come up and just have like stars in their eyes because this is somebody who, you know, had a big effect on them.
Yeah, he was not charging for signatures, which was like insane. And then he brought some of his paintings down with him as well to sell, like some smaller ones, which were, in my opinion, were underpriced for what they were. And if I didn't have a wife who had been fucking upset with me, I would have. There's a couple of paintings there I was like, that's a good one. Put that up on the wall.
Joe Fairbanks got like the little tundra canvas one.
Yeah. Vexo bought out that one tree one. I was like, if you don't buy this, I'm gonna buy it. So he bought it so that I would not have an upset wife.
Well, yeah, and then we did we had 6 or 7 people donate stuff to do. We did a silent charity auction, so it was written down. We had cool stuff. There was like a Brassard altered Badlands. There was a set of Swords of Plowshares that were altered. James from Vegas gave us a Brainstorm and Brain Geyser, and one of the disenchants that I altered for him.
He regifted you,
which is awesome. But you know, people were shelling out awesome amounts of money. So we raised over $1,260 for the charity, and that was great. So yeah, I mean, everybody came in. So the only thing, the only hiccup in the whole event is we got to the end of the 5th round. Everybody had finished except for the top table. It's of course everybody's favorite Danny Friedman against Brian Vegso from Vegas. And Danny's playing some control deck, tax tower control deck with no win con.
No. In fairness, I'll be the arbiter of fairness here real quick. I asked him after the game. He had 2 win cons.
What was, if you say Feldon's Cane, that's not a...
No. He had a tax edge in there.
Did he? Oh, so he did have a Land's Edge in there?
He did. I asked him because I was like, he had a Land's Edge and he had one other way to win. I think, I can't remember. It was either Fireball or Lightning Bolt, but he had the ability to win, right?
Okay. That's fine. But yeah, so Danny and Brian both cut through the room all day, and they were tied 1-1, and they were in their final game, and we went to time, right? And I've been on everybody all day, but maybe this is part of my inexperiences at TO. I felt pressure to let them play because they're at table 1. They're both 4-0. They're tied 1-1. But at the same time, everybody else is milling around because they're like, let's get prizes and let's get out of here. And so I was like, hey, guys, let's finish up. And Danny's like, I'm not finishing up. We're not going to flips. and then Vegso mind twists Danny and has a Shivan Dragon or something out or is ready to play it. And I'm like, Danny, just concede. You're going to make the top 4. And he's like, no, I will not concede.
I love it. I fucking love it.
I love that. Yeah.
It's so
fun. Fuck you, pay me.
I gave him like 5 more minutes, and people were just starting to bark in my ear about like, hey, I need to go. And so I'm like, fuck you too. I'm calling it a draw. So I finished the stuff in SlanFan's web browser. Like that tool that he created was amazing. Worked perfectly all day.
Tool.
Yeah, the Derby tool worked perfectly all day. I put him in as a draw. They ended up 1-2, so it didn't matter. But I was like, Danny, you just got mind twisted, and you don't have a chance here. And he's like, I will not concede.
That's that winning attitude. We talked about it in the open on the server. The only thing I would have changed about this tournament was I would have either not had a top 4 and just played a 6th round, or you let those 2 assholes play until their heart's content and set 3 and 4 up. Set the other 2 dudes who made top 4 up to play. That's it.
Absolutely. And so I just, you know, I know both those guys. They're both my friends, and so I had, that was hard for me to say like, hey guys, you need to wrap it up. And like, because I didn't want him. I wanted to let him play it out, but also at that time, like, I'm not their friend. I'm the TO. I have to worry about everybody, not just the two of them. And really, it didn't matter. They're playing for a revised balance and pride.
Right. Did it go to the full 5 turns after time was called?
No, I stopped paying attention. I was just like, nope, this is a draw, and I didn't see what they did. They may have finished it out, but
they did. They did finish it. Because I talked to Danny afterwards. I was like, I'm like, dude, what are you running for a WinCon? And he knew that's what we were talking about. Because I was like, I'll loan you. I'm like, I brought a beta Fireball with me. I will loan it to you. Nobody's gonna be upset if I give you this card to play right now.
Everybody will be happy if you just put this into your hand.
Put it in your 75 somewhere. Just like, it doesn't matter. But no, he had 2 WinCons. The Vex's deck was sick. I didn't see who played the other. Who were the other 2 that played? Because I was dealing with something else at that point.
It was Will on like Bantgeddon, and then the other, I can't remember the other guy's name, but he was on like Rug Zoo.
Rug Zoo. And so, short the end of the story is they played it out. The 3 and 4 guys both upset Danny and Vegso, of which I think Danny and Vegso were both just wiped out because that was a long day of Magic. And then Will, and I'm sorry, the other guy's name is just slipped on my mind. He's one of our local guys. But it was nice to see a Portland final. And Will cleaned up with his earned. We have a very casual play group that we get together and meet about once a month. And Will is our killer. He's the guy that
he's your end boss. He's your FNM end boss.
Absolutely. He goes to FNMs. He does drafts. He kills stuff. But all of his good cards are graded. So, and I was going to play this time. So I just said, take anything you want out of my binder. So he played with the Kira altered power and stuff. And he's like, oh, dude, it's pretty fun casting Ancestral Recall again.
Apparently it's a good card. Who would have thought?
Yeah, drawing cards. Who would have known? Yeah.
So then we did cool. We had lots of cool stuff in the prize pool and signed cards.
Oh no, hold on. Don't glance over that. We're gonna talk about this fucking prize pool. First off, I was fairly sober at this point. There were plenty. There were like just these boxes, right? And it was like pre-modern mystery box.
Oh
First
yeah.
off, the box itself was worth a prize. Like the box by itself.
I know.
It's like one of the Jester's ones, right?
And
then you were telling me that was awesome. The other, they're all mine stuff stacked away right now. But like the prize cards were fucking legitimate. And then it was it was kind of just a free for all, but people were like trying to generally be like cool about it. And I don't know how this made it this far, but I walked up there probably second to last, dead last. And I don't know if people had thought that this wasn't in the prize pool or whatever, but it's just a nice mint copy of one of the Fallen Empires comic books that I'm never going to read, but I am going to buy a Fallen Empires pack to put with.
Look, I am extremely maybe generous is not the word, but anytime I see any of my friends have an event around the country, I try and send them some cool stuff, right? And I try not to be like, hey, send me something in return when we have an event, but I really people came out of the woodworks to send me altars and other stuff.
There's some sick shit in there. And then
I did those 3 boxes because Taylor Quayle is one of my best buddies in this hobby, and he has gotten his collection down to like 1 long box.
Nice.
And I'm so jealous. I'm jealous. And so I took all my stuff that have been laying around. Like I had a bunch of pre-modern decks and a bunch of modern stuff. I'm like, why do I have this stuff? I don't need this. and then I sprinkled in a few tasty licks in there, just to make it, make somebody be sorting through there and find something good. And then those boxes are really cool too. I still have the black one.
Okay, good.
Yeah, so I kept one. But yeah, that's Aaron and I's thing is like we've been very fortunate both in our lives and in this hobby, and we want to give back to our friends and make sure that everybody walks away with some cool stuff. And every time they see it, they think back, oh, that was a fun time. That was a good night. That was our goal. And I didn't hear any complaints about our stuff. There were a few complaints about like late food and that kind of stuff. I'm
gonna hit that in the slops section.
We
get the props and slops.
Yeah, you hit that up. But yeah, that's great feedback too. Like we talked about 5 versus 6 rounds. We were worried about that second room not being big enough. But
yeah, I hear you on that. I didn't understand
Yeah.
until we moved over there. Yeah, and then I was like,
Yeah.
okay, I get it.
yeah, and so
Yeah.
yeah, so that was our thinking. Plus, both I think Aaron and I have experienced a variety of different ways that tournaments are run, and I think that that's a holdover from competitive Magic is cut to a top 8 or top 4.
Right.
And that's something we're kind of working through. But yeah, I mean
Yeah.
I'm gonna play devil's advocate. I love the idea that you can squeak in, I've had tournaments where I lost round 1, won all of my rounds afterwards, squeaked in a top 8, and made it to the finals. And that kind of story is so cool to see somebody just like really push themselves. Like seeing like the guys that ended up in the finals, those were the third and fourth place guys, right? Like Will
Yeah,
and
3 and 4 seeds.
And Will is funny because Will,
I can't remember the other guy's name.
Will was 5th, Will was 4th, and his really close friend James was 5th, and it was by like a thousandth of a percentage point, just barely. And so we were howling with laughter because yeah,
super close.
Yeah, it was close. Like it was a virtual tie, and then Will wins it.
Yeah, because if you only do a certain amount of X rounds and then standings, you're probably going to be out as soon as round 1 ends if you lose. But you still have like skin in the game to play. You have more opportunities to play Magic. I mean, you're still going to play, but you're probably not going to be as excited knowing like, all right, I lost round 1. The day is already over for me, which is kind of a bummer when you're doing it based on standings. Sure. You at least have a chance to like fight for something, and it makes the games more intense and interesting. So that's kind of like my take on it. Of course, I started off 0-2, but I continued to play because I came down to play Magic. I drove 6 hours. I'm like, I'm here to play Magic. You know what I mean? So.
Right. So, Eric, what were you on?
I was okay. Hold on. Second. Here's my second fucking piece of criticism. I didn't win a Spice Prize, but that's okay because I know Claudia. I need to have.
Did you see Claudia's deck?
I know. I need to have her on here.
Yes.
To just talk Magic, but yes, I know her deck was spicier than mine. Like I completely fucking.
Your deck was cool though.
Agree.
Yeah,
it wasn't cool. It was actually not. It. I only won 1 game versus James, Las Vegas James, and I apologize to him because he should have won, and like his deck just didn't cooperate. I should have been like an 0-5 sweep, but I got that one.
James was he was on Power Monolith.
Power Monolith, yeah.
Yeah. I saw him next to me in round 5.
Yeah. I mean, Eric, you were an early clubhouse leader because I had seen your deck. That's another thing is like I sat at that table, I was busy the whole time. I did not watch very much Magic. And so that was
you and Aaron were very busy.
Yeah, like I played against Claudia in round 1 because her opponent was a little late coming in, and when she chained together People of the Woods into Gaia's Liege,
yes,
I'm like, yeah, dude, nobody else is playing these cards.
Yeah.
She had Diamond Valley in there too.
Yeah.
She had Diamond Valley in there too to gain life because you're dealing damage to yourself with Fast Bond.
Yeah.
So you got to gain that life back.
Yeah.
Hers was also more well thought out. I was playing. What the fuck was I playing? I took it apart because I was like disgusted.
You were on the white, red, green Fungasaur deck.
Oh yeah,
which
Fungasaur.
I didn't even know you were on Fungasaur when we played.
I played 4 of them. I didn't like.
You never played one against
out
me.
on those bad boys.
You played D'Avenant Archer, and I was like, "This is cool. I wonder why they have that in it." I'm like, I thought that you were playing that so that you could ping a Serra Angel and then finish it off with a Bolt. That's why I thought you were playing it.
That's a way to do it.
But I didn't see it. I didn't see it. It made way more sense when I saw your deck photo. I'm like, oh shit, you were on Fungasaur? Like I never saw that. So
you need black for Pestilence, or you need blue for Sorcerer, for Timmy, right?
Sorcerer.
You need a way to ping it without it being in combat.
Okay.
Because it's an ABC combo, unfortunately. You need like a fucking Maves to pull it out, or like I mean I got it to an 8-8 versus Justin in round 4, but Justin was inebriated, right? Like he was playing, but I was also helping him play. I was like, you're gonna spend a black so that it first strikes and you get to keep your guy. And I was like, this game's over. Yeah, like
There were a couple of times where I helped my opponents too, and I'm like, just do this, and they're just like, oh yeah, good call, and I'm like, yeah, come on, let's.
Yeah.
Well, again, that's the
It's a
spirit of
tournament
the day.
format.
Yeah. That's the
Oh
spirit.
yeah,
of
I
the
had a
day.
great time.
Yeah.
That's probably like actually the most fun tournament I've had so far this year. Was sitting down because I got to play some new people and I got to play some people I know.
Yeah.
And I didn't have to play anybody from Seattle, which was great. Because like there's nothing better than driving 3 hours, so you can play with somebody who also drove 3 hours.
Right.
Yeah. So I thought that was fun. The pizza was delicious. I enjoyed the ambiance of that place. I know it was expensive because we were in Portland and I could just tell by other people in the fucking building. I was like, oh, this is like white people expensive. Like, so I knew that was going to be the case. I liked the sign cards, love the prize support. The silent auction I thought was good too. There's some steals. Like me and Aaron were going at each other a little bit over one set of cards. And then like there was somebody donated like 3 alpha cards. There was a graded cop green from Shane from up here in Seattle. There was a bunch of altered cards that I just like didn't need them. Otherwise I would have bid on those as well.
Tanny did the Ivory Tower and the Anka Mishra. I got the Ankh.
There was a little bit of collusion on the silent auction. All right, a little bit. Just a little bit. That's okay.
I was trying to get the Argivian Archaeologist, but I think maybe Kira won it. Kira bid much higher than I was willing to spend, and I'm like, it's for charity, but I'm also broke, so you know.
I mean, again, then that's one of those things. Like we were trying to finish it off at 5 o'clock after being there at 9 o'clock in the morning. It just you lose focus. Absolutely, anybody that's ran a tournament ever can understand. Like you just lose the ability to function after about 6 or 7 hours. And so
my brain was tired. One piece of feedback I had about the bounty was that it should have been collected at the end of round 5 because I got to actually do a couple of more bounty moves in my round 5. I don't think it would have mattered, but it might have, you know what I mean?
I needed the time during round 5 to calculate the totals. Yeah. So yeah, like and because I've been the guy who's sitting there at the end of the day, especially people that from out of town. They're like, I need to get home. We need to leave. Like, I don't want to sit around for 2 hours waiting on somebody else's stuff. And so I'm very sensitive to that. And that's just something that's going to happen when I run a tournament is I'm going to be trying to get people out the door. Because I'm the one that's a lot of time, if you got wife, kids, job, pets at home that you got to get out. You're like, dude, I can't sit here for 4 hours waiting for this so I can get my signed Card Ape, right?
Sure. I think I think that's like an individual's issue though, right? Like
absolutely. And the other thing is like we could have just had some more help. Aaron and I tried to do everything ourselves, and that's what a club is for, right? For people, and that's as people were helping out all day, like setting up chairs and running this, and somebody needs a bag here, a bag there, and like as an organizer, you need to stop and say, hey, look, let's do this the right way. Okay, your job is going to be handling this, and your job is going to be handling this. And I think if people have a quote unquote job or an area of responsibility, they have ownership over it, and then they'll take care of it.
I will make you like a Google Sheets tally for the bounty list next time. It'll take me. You just tell me what team they're on. I'll put them in a spreadsheet. You just type in a number. It'll tally it up for you.
I know. I'm a paper guy. I don't know why paper is important.
Well, that's why it's taking.
Have you seen Cam Jam? Have you seen it? It's literally just sheets of paper.
It's literally sheets of paper. Yeah.
And then I mail it to the winner.
Oh, you do? I didn't even. I'm never gonna win one, but dude, I had a really good time, and like I think what a lot of so we talk about this stuff on Discord a lot, but I think what a lot of people don't understand is like how much actual work it is to even run an event, right? Like it is fucking tough. A lot.
Yeah.
It's more than just like taking fucking match slips, right? Like
I mean, and look, during there's 1,000 decisions that need to be made. Aaron and I were at each other's throats a couple of times about stuff that like ultimately didn't matter, but it feels like it matters in the moment, right?
It was seamless to me. I didn't notice any of that.
It felt. I mean, you guys did a good job. I couldn't tell that there was any friction in the back end.
There wasn't the day of, right? Because we're so excited to actually be here. But that's like if you ever want to see the sausage get made, when you have 2 alpha people trying to make decisions about stuff, you're like, I know I'm right, but I might let you win, but I know I'm right. But it's just the both of us, stuff like that, and you just work it out, right?
Yeah, it's tough. I'm having
But it's
flashbacks to
fun
Battle
too.
of the Alamo. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really fun. Like it was a fun day, and I didn't miss playing at all because I got my fix playing Andy the night before.
Yeah. Did you guys played Andy the night before? You played afterwards, and I regret that I didn't bring my QFF Ice Age stuff with me because I heard you're in that.
Yes.
We'll talk afterwards about this, but we need to sit down and play that.
And holy shit, is my pile bad?
Is yours okay? I'll show you mine afterwards. It's also not great. But dude, I had a great time. The rounds, like in my opinion, and I was some of the last people to finish because my deck was just not that good. But like the rounds fired on time. Like I don't like there was like that perfect amount of time in between rounds to like grab something or use the bathroom and then hit your next round.
Sure.
I thought the spacing was good. I know not everybody felt that way, but I felt that way. Love the prize support. The food was great. Yeah, it's really just the spice fries that makes me so upset. That I'll probably never come back for. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Well, I don't want to spoil anything, but Aaron may have asked me for your address earlier this week.
God damn it. Oh well, no. I need to talk to Aaron about something else anyhow. But the I really enjoyed it. I can't wait to come back next year. Assuming you're doing one next year. That's a big assumption, I know.
Yeah. So I think the next thing for us is gonna be Border Brawl. We've ran that 3 or 4 times, and instead of the bounties like on specific cards or something, I want to try and figure out if we can do something with Oregon versus Washington.
We just play teams like
yeah, or like if an Oregon person beats a Washington person, you get a check mark on the wall, or vice versa, right? And then the real winners is like whichever state beats the other state the most times.
Or do we play like Team Unified? Like do we? I don't know. Anyhow, we're gonna do a whole other podcast.
But I think so Ragnarok is in the summer,
June, I believe.
Yeah, and so I think we're gonna go in the fall.
Okay.
You could do team trios with old school, pre-modern, and AAA.
It'll be a cold dead day before I fucking show up to a pre-modern tournament.
Wow.
No, you just play the old school spot.
I would probably play the AAA spot. I mean, I would need to borrow some cards, like some power cards, because I think AAA really amplifies like having power in your deck. But yeah. Dude, I had a good time on that.
I had a great time too. Definitely worth the drive. Would definitely come back.
Thank you for coming back. And and I know Chris, we kind of count you as a Portland person.
I thought you were from Portland. I didn't realize you drove in for 6 hours.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I've officially like tied for events. So I've played two old school events in Washington. Actually, technically 3 if you count Two-Headed Giant, but that's like I don't really count that. And then 2 events in Portland right now. So I mean I'm based in Washington, but I haven't played a Washington event since Puget Sound Battleground last year.
I mean, the only real slop was apparently me, Jacob, and Adam had to leave because they had to get back home, and so did I. My slop was I should have just got a room and spent the night, or stayed with Shane and Chow, who had apparently like a themed hotel room for the 2 of them, and this is like not the first time that they've done this, so might need to join them. Apparently like the restaurant took like forever to get people food, and then Doug apparently ordered a salad and they just brought him like artichokes. And, like he posted a picture of it. That's like like everything else I'm bullshitting, but like that's an actual slop. It's just the restaurant people that day. I don't know what the fuck they were thinking, but breakfast was fine. I ate breakfast there. It was good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean I've eaten at McMinimans. It's usually like a place where you drink.
Right.
It's a bar, and like they have really good they have really good beer and really good they make all their own liquors and stuff, and so that part of it I didn't do a whole lot of that. Aaron brought me a couple beers over the course of the day, but
did you get in the pool? I didn't bring I did not look to
see.
I didn't know that there was a pool. I would have brought swim trunks and played a match in the pool.
I've heard that there's a soaking pool there. I've never been into it, and like you saw me at Chalice, dude. I'm somebody who's going in the pool if I know that it's there.
Yep. I saw it as soon as I walked in, and I was like, "Fuck," because I knew I didn't have like the appropriate clothes on to get.
Yeah, the trunks.
Yeah, I didn't have the trunks.
Playing a
There
match,
was
playing a
minors
match in the
around,
pool
so we
sounds
couldn't do it.
insane.
Yeah.
Can you imagine doing like an orb flip, like on like a floating piece of wood, like where your match is? That would be so
There's a
sick.
picture out there somewhere, but some guys in Sweden or not Sweden, but somewhere in Europe were playing games in like a pool fucking floaty with like real cards. Like
That's incredible.
We could have recreated something similar. All right.
That's some YouTube content if I ever heard of it.
Yeah. Well,
so anyhow, so great job, Cam.
Thanks.
Yes.
Thank you very much. It was a busy 2 months.
Dude. I'm sure
but it's good. I mean, this kind of stuff makes me really happy. I hugged probably 3/4 of the people in the room. I mean, so many friends that I haven't seen for a long time, and so new friends, and so we had a good time. Nobody that I heard left with hurt feelings or anything, and so
everyone was great.
And so there's, we've had some good feedback that we're incorporating, but yeah, I think that we're going to try and run back something in the fall. Okay. And then, yeah, I think this might be something for next year around the same time. I might wait a little bit in the year. I try not to hit too close to other people's events, but because this one was mostly local, right? It was half the room was Portland, a quarter of the room was Seattle area, and then, probably 8 to 10 people were from Southern Oregon or other places. Right. We're not cannibalizing too much from other places. And I don't want to run 100-person tournament. I like it being 40 people.
That was my last, you were talking about this. That was my last, I was talking with Simon about this. I think the 40 to 60 person tournament is the fucking sweet spot when it comes to old school.
Yeah.
Did you get the right amount of rounds and everything?
I mean, the thing is, like, I love Dave and Jared in Boston, but dude, the idea of running a 250 person old school tournament,
it gives me anxiety thinking about that.
Yeah. Like, I mean, just the amount of people that are going to be coming up saying, "Hey, where's the bathroom? Hey, where's my opponent? Hey, oh, I forgot to turn my slip in." And just like the amount of bullshit you got to deal with, is extrapolated by a factor of like 8 from us, and
it's logarithmic. The more you just
exactly. Yeah. And they have a whole team of people to do this. This isn't their first rodeo, but that kind of stuff. But I mean, I'll be very interested to hear about how that goes, because the same thing, like the software goes down, or the internet goes down. Like
we could recreate, like with 46 people, we could figure it out, right? Like not that anybody would probably care at that point, but like at 200 plus people, what the fuck do you do? Because there's too many slips to go through.
Yeah, you're at round 7, and there's been 2,000 matches or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, you wouldn't be able to do it just you and Aaron. You would have to have a team of people.
Yeah. Teams of people. So
okay. Any last? I want to talk to you guys about that more, but we can cut it off this podcast. I'm gonna bring up something that isn't on podcast. But the last parting thoughts, parting words.
Sure. Nothing for me. Just thanks everybody that came out, and look for me at Ragnarok. I've already got my Thor lightning bolts, my Thor necklace. I ordered my Thor tie-dye t-shirt, where it's not going to be a surprise which deck I'm playing.
All right, good. And there's a Sweet Friday event. Shane, I believe, just put the rules out on Twitter. Let me double check that, because I might actually cut the end of this podcast off. But it looks like the Friday event rules have been put out there. Let me just double check. And if they
I saw them in Discord, the draft.
Yeah, I know it's in Discord. Yeah. Emerald City Trolls. Holy fuck. All right, whatever. It's probably out there. But that Friday event is gonna be fucking sick.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of work has been put into it.
Yep. Team Thor, baby. Hey, if anybody ever wants a game of AAA Alpha through Alliance's Annie, come hit me up wherever I am. If you see me out in public, chances are I have at least 2 decks on me. So let's ball.
Nice. Chris, anything else?
I would say driving far for an old school event is always worth it.
Yes.
Always, 100% of the time. And it's got the best community in any Magic format that I've played personally. parting thoughts: don't be greedy with your mana bases. It will come back to bite you.
Nah, fuck that. Be greedy, because that's my only.
Eric beat me by attacking with an Acacian Javelineers like 9 times, and I did most of the rest of the damage to myself. So I get to actually check that off on my resume. Like, got killed by an Acacian Javelineers, which I think was wonderful for you, but was
small heroes.
It was like an existential crisis for me. Like, what am I doing? What am I doing with my life? City of Brass is a lot of responsibility comes with having the power of City of Brass. I'll just tell you that right now.
Hell yeah! All right, I'm gonna stop it right here. All right, y'all.